In this video, we are going to cover one of the labs from DP600 course, that is create DAX calculations in Power BI desktop. In this lab, you're going to learn how you can create calculated column, calculated table, and measures within the Power BI desktop using the DAX formulas. So let's get started. So here in the lab, we are provided with the sales starter file, which is your .pbix file, and I have already downloaded this file from the given link. Once you have downloaded this file, now next, the very first thing we are going to create is we are going to create a calculated table. So what a calculated table is? A calculated table is a new table, a separate table that you can create from the data available within your semantic model for our own separate new calculations. So let's go into our Power BI desktop and create the very first table, which is a salesperson table. So here you can see we have this model view, and here we have few tables, like we have one fact table, which is sales table. Along with that, we have some of the dimension tables like targets, salesperson performance, product table, reseller table, and the region table. So here the main purpose behind creating a new calculated table is that here we want a separate table for the salesperson, that with the help of which we can analyze the performance of the salesperson table according to the region, right? So one table will be used to identify or analyze the performance of salesperson, which is the overall sales done in all the regions. Second table is going to provide us the, you can say it is going to help us to analyze the total sales done by the salesperson in a particular region. So that's why we are going to create a new table with name salesperson, and we are going to create it from the already available table, which is a salesperson performance table. So to create a new calculated table, we will go into the same model view where we are as of now. In the model view, you will go to the home tab. Under the home tab, here you have the option, which is the calculations group. So within the calculations section, you have the third option, which is the new table. So click on the new table. And once you click on new table, it will ask you to enter the formula. So we will enter the formula, that is salesperson equals to, and select the table which is coming down, that is salesperson performance table, and hit enter. Now once you hit enter, notice that the salesperson table, it appears within our model view. Moreover, you can check the data pane also. So here you can see in the data pane, we have the salesperson table. Since this is the calculated table, so here in front of the salesperson table name, we have an icon, a kind of a calculator icon getting represented as our calculated table, denoting that this is a calculated table. So the calculated tables, these are defined by using the DAX formulas that return a complete table. So here it is important to understand that your calculated tables, they do increase the size of the data model, because they are actually getting stored within the data model and they are storing the values. And whenever you are going to execute this formula, you're going to refresh the semantic model. So these calculate tables, their values are going to be recalculated. So they are recomputed whenever formula dependencies are refreshed, right? Unlike your Power Query source tables, calculate tables, they cannot be used to load data from external data sources. They can only transform the data based on what has already been loaded into the data model. So this distinction you need to be very aware of. Now, what we have to do is, now we need to create a relationship among your sales table and sales, which is your salesperson table that we have just created. So in order to create the relationship between both the fact table and this new table, so let me adjust rest of the tables. And let me bring this closer to the sales table. Now here we are going to create the relationship on the key, that is employee key. So here we have the employee key. So I will just drag it and I will drop it on top of the sales table like this. Now once you drop, automatically you will see that cardinality is selected one to many, cross filter direction is single, and click on save. And we are making this relationship as active relationship. Now once done, now we have the relationship between the sales table and the salesperson table already. So what we will going to do is, now we are going to delete the relationship between the sales table and the salesperson performance table, because here we have already created one more table. And for the salesperson performance table, you can see that there is already a connection of the salesperson table with the sales table via region table and salesperson region table. So that's why we are going to delete this relationship. Do the right click and click on delete. Now once we have deleted this, now next we are going to hide some of the fields within the salesperson table. So that is employee ID, employee key and UPN. So let's first select these three fields first. Employee ID, select control key and employee key, and again click UPN. And now open the properties pane, and over here just enable this toggle button from is hidden from no to yes. Now once you hide these fields from the salesperson table, now this in the salesperson table over here, you can see that these fields are now hidden. Now once we have hidden these fields, now next you can add the description to a particular table. So here again expand the properties, and here you can see that we can add a description to our salesperson table which we have created, right? Similarly, we can add the description to the another salesperson performance table also if required. So let's add the salesperson table description. So we will say salesperson related to sales. And now when you simply, okay, description doesn't get saved. Let me re-add it. Salesperson related to sales. Yes. So now here we can see that once you move your cursor on top of the salesperson table, we can see the description getting printed, salesperson related to sales. Similarly, if you want to add the description to the salesperson performance table, we can add it. So let's select this. Again, expand the properties pane and mention the description as salesperson related to regions. Let's see whether it has been added. Yes. So the description to the salesperson performance table has also been added. So now our data model, it provides two alternatives for analyzing the salespeople. The first one is your salesperson table. So this table allow us to analyze the sales made by the salesperson, while the salesperson performance table allows us to analyze the sales made in the sales region assigned to that salesperson, right? So this is how in the real scenario also, in order to create a new table, we make use of the existing table to create another table. Now next, just like you have created here a new table, now we are going to create again another calculated table, but that will be for the purpose of storing the date values. So for that we will create a date table. So for that, we will switch to the table view so that we can actually see the dates, though you can create it over here also. So I will switch to the table view from the left. And now here, I will select new table. And we are going to write the name of the table as date. And we are going to make use of the formula that is calendar auto function. So this calendar auto function, it will return us a single column table that will consist of the date values. And all of these date values will be fetched from the date columns which are already there within your model, right? To determine the earliest and the latest date values which are stored in the data model. And accordingly, it will then create one row for each date within that range. So here we are passing the value 6 as well. So here value 6 means that we are mentioning that this is going to be the last month of the year. So if you don't pass the value, by default it will take the value as 12. So it will treat December as the last month of the year. But here we are treating the June as the last month of the year. So now we will hit enter or commit. Now here you can see it has returned us one column containing all the dates calculated from the already existing the date type columns available in the other tables within our data model. Now here notice that the column of your date values which are formatted using US regional settings, that is your month, date and year. And here at the bottom also you can see the total number of rows created for the date table. Now here in the date table we are going to add some more information where we are going to extract the month, year as well as the quarter. So for that we are going to create the calculated column. Now you have seen how to create a calculated table. Now we are going to create the calculated column. So just like you create a column within your Power Query, like in data flows, to create a new column, what we do, we go to the choose columns, and from the choose columns, we create a new column, or we select add column, and then we select add column from example, or we manually add a column by mentioning the formula. So this is the same column that we are going to create here. Now, since we are going to create a column, it is going to take up the space. Means it is going to extend your table. So here, let's create a new column. So already the date table is selected. First, make sure that the date table is selected. And now we can say new column, or from here also you can click on three dots on the right in front of your table name. And then you can select new column. So both options are fine. And now here in the formula bar, we are going to mention the formula for our column that we are going to create. And that is year column. So let's mention the formula here. So let me copy the formula. And let me paste it over here. Let me recreate the column. And let us mention the value here. That's it. And before we hit enter, let's understand what we are doing here in this formula. So here in the formula, we are saying year equals to FY and year date table. In the square bracket, we are mentioning the date column. So it means here from the date table, and from the date table, from your date column, we are fetching the year, right? So once you fetch the year, now with the year, you are trying to fetch the month value from the date column within the date table. And we are mentioning a condition that if the month value is greater than 6, which is July or later. Then we are going to add 1 to your calendar year, because for us we have already mentioned while creating the date table that the last month of our year is going to be the June. So that's why now here we need to manually configure this, that if in the date table we have the date where your month is July or later, then we are going to add 1, means we are going to increment 1 value to your year value. So let's say if the year value is 2024, then we are going to increment it to 2025. So this is what this formula is doing. So let's hit enter. And now here you can see that your year column has been created, FY 2018. Right? Now once we have created the year column, next we are going to create another calculated column, that is the quarter column. So again, let's select here new table. Sorry, new column, not the new table. And in the new column, we are going to mention the next formula for the creation of quarter. Copy this. Let me recreate again, new column, and paste the value. Now, so here what we are doing, so just like in the year column, we were concatenating FY string with the year value, like here FY 2018. Similarly, here we are concatenating quarter Q with the year value to mention that this is the quarter of this particular year. And then after mentioning the quarter, then we are calculating the quarter number. So how we are calculating the quarter number? So we are saying in the first condition that if the month from the given date column within the date table is less than equal to 3, means it is January, February and March. That means it is the quarter number 3. So we are going to mention this is the third quarter, because for us the year is ending on the June, right? So from June the year is ending, and it means that from July onwards we are going to count it as the first quarter, right? So from July 7, 8, 9, this is going to be the first quarter, right? So here you can see, so less than equal to 9, this is going to be quarter 1. For 10, 11, 12, this is going to be the quarter 2. And for the January, February, March, this is going to be the quarter 3. And for month number 4, 5, 6, this is going to be the quarter 4. I hope this formula is now clear. So now we are going to comment this formula and hit enter. Let's minimize this. So here you can see that here your quarter value has been created. FY we concatenated, which is the year FY 2018, followed by the Q string, followed by the quarter number 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Right? Now we are going to add the another calculated column, that is the month. So let's first copy the month calculation formula. And we are going to copy this. Go back to the Power BI. And now again, select new column and mention the formula here. Month equals to format date, YYY and MMM. So here basically we are going to create a custom format string to specify that how our date should be displayed. So this YY represents the year, and this MMM, this represents the month, which means we are going to mention for January it will be Jan, and for February it will be Feb. And now hit enter. So here you can see this is how it is going to get displayed. First year followed by the month number. Now here we have created these 3 calculated columns. Now what we are going to do next is, next we are going to move to our report view, And in the report view, we are going to visualize the sales by every quarter, month for every year. So let's create a new page from here. And within the new page, select the matrix visualization from the visualization pane on the right, which is this one. And once selected, now you need to drag year and month fields into the row area. So let's first select the year field. Now once selected, now next select the month field. So here month got selected to the column, just shift it to the rows like this. So let me bring it bit here for the clarity. And we can zoom it from here as well. So here you can see this is how our visualization now look like. Now here you can even drill through the years, like we can see every month for every year. If you add a quarter, you'll be able to see for the quarter also, but we are not going to add it for the quarter right now. So here we will simply select, go to the next level in the hierarchy, which is this one. Sorry, we are going to expand all down one level in the hierarchy or the next level like this. So here you can see that we are getting the month in your alphabetical order, like August, December, July, November, October. So instead of this, we should be getting in the chronological order, where our our year should end on the June, which is month number 6, right? So for that, what we will do here is we are going to add another column, which is going to act as a month key column. So what we will do is we will go back to our table view. So here, now since this is already in the order, so what we will do is we will simply provide some calculation to provide a ascending kind of a value, a kind of a month key value. So for that, let's create a month key column here. Let's create a new column and select the formula from the snippet file, copy, and paste here. So here notice what we are doing. We are simply fetching year value from the date column within the date table, multiplying it with 100. So let's say if our year is 2017. So it will be 2017 100, 201700. And then we are adding the month value to that, right? So let's hit enter. Now here notice that we are getting the month key values like this. Now once we add this, now let's try to do the sorting by the month key value so that we can see that these are sorted by the chronological order. So for that, what we will do is, now here we are already in the report view. So here first we need to select the month column from the date table like this. Once selected, now you need to go to the ribbon at the top, select the columns tool, header, section, and from this column tool section, you need to select sort by column. So I will select sort by column, and now here I will select the column value as month key. Now when you select this column value as month key, notice that all of your columns now for the particular year are now sorted in the chronological order in the matrix visual. Now once we are done with this, now we are going to simply mark this table as the date table. So here in order to mark the date table, so basically for the as a best practices also Microsoft recommends to always create your own table, because what happens is in the Power BI, your Power BI automatically creates a hidden date table that actually consumes a lot of space and memory, and these are not required and these are basically hidden from all of us. So here you can see if you go to the file section, under the file section I selected the options. Under the options I went to the global data load, and over there we have this option time intelligence. So if in case this is selected, you need to deselect it. Just uncheck this box and hit OK, right? So it won't create any automatic daytime tables for you, saving you a lot of storage. So we are here creating a separate date table for us, right? So for that, what we need to do is first, now we don't require month key column. We created it only for the sorting purpose. So we are going to hide this month key column, right? So we'll go back to the model view and our date table. And now here we are going to hide this. Just click on this I symbol coming in front of the column name like this. Now, once we have done this, now we are going to create a hierarchy first. So for that, we will go to the data pane here. Now inside the data pane, we are going to select our date table, right? And in the date table, we are going to right select your year column, and then we will say create hierarchy. Now, when you talk about this hierarchy, so this hierarchy is basically, it's a, you can say, a structured arrangement of your related fields. The way how you're organizing the related fields within the table, that will allow users to drill down from the higher level categories to the more detailed ones in their reports and visualizations. So this will make exploring the data easier and more interactive, which will enable the users to analyze the trends, relationships, and the details effectively. For just like here, we are going to create a hierarchy, which is the date hierarchy, where first we will add the year, followed by quarter, month, and day. Similarly, we can have another hierarchy like product hierarchy, where you can have category, subcategory, and product. Organizational hierarchy, department, team, and employee, geography hierarchy, current, state, and city. So this is why we are going to create a hierarchy here. So for that, first here you can see hierarchy is created. First we need to rename this hierarchy. So let's rename it to fiscal and hit enter. Now we need to add the columns to our hierarchy. So select the year column, right click or click on three dots and then mention, okay. Okay, so here we don't have the formula to add it to the hierarchy. So what we will do is I will simply expand this. Okay, so this is already in the hierarchy. That's why it was not coming. So after year, we need to add the quarter. So for the quarter here, we are getting the option add to hierarchy. Which hierarchy? Fiscal hierarchy. Similarly, we will say add month to our hierarchy, fiscal hierarchy. So here we have created our date hierarchy. Now once we have created our date hierarchy, now next we are going to add the relationship. So here your date table still independent, still alone. So we need to make friends of the date table. So let's create the relationship of the date table with the sales table and the target table, right? So here we are going to pick the date column from the date table and we are going to make a relationship with the order date column inside the sales table. So let's pick the date column and drag and drop it on top of the order date. Click save. Similarly, we will create it with target column, pick date and drag and drop on top of the target month. Click save. Now once done, we need to hide some of the columns. Let's say here from the target column, table, we will hide our target month, and from the sales table, we will hide the order date column. Now once done, now we can mark this table as the date table. So for that, we will switch to the report view and in the data pane, we will select our date table, not the date column, but the date table. Now, once you select the table tools appear up on the ribbon. And now here inside the calendars group, or you can say calendars section, select mark as date table. And here just toggle on this button and select the column as date column and click on save. Now once you save, so here notice that this is acting as your date table. In front of the date column, we have got this a new symbol. So your Power BI desktop will now understand that this table defines your date. And this design approach for date table is generally suitable when you don't have a date table in your data source. So if you have a data warehouse, it would be appropriate to load the date data from its date dimension table rather than redefining the date logic in your data model. So now let's save this file. And once saved, now we are going to create the measures, the simple measures. So for creating the measures here, we will now, what we will do is, here we are already in the report view. So here in the page 2, so here we have two pages, page 1 and page 2. And now in the page 2, we need to drag the unit price column from the sales table into our already existing matrix visual. So select the unit price and drag and drop over here. And now notice, now since this unit price, this is your implicit measure, or you can say quick measure, right? So this for the implicit measures, we have the symbol which is the sigma symbol. And notice now since these measures are dynamic in nature, so for every month we are getting the different value. As we discussed that the measures values are calculated on the fly and they are not stored in the data model. Now notice that for this implicit measures, now if you simply go into the visualization pane, in the visualization pane you simply go to the values section, and here if you simply just click on this drop down option in front of the average of unit price, notice that here we are getting some of the aggregation options in the menu, like we have sum, minimum, maximum, count, standard deviation, variance, and median, right? So these numeric columns basically allow the report authors at the report design time to decide that how their column values will summarize. So some data modelers, they don't like leaving the things to chance, however, and they choose to hide these columns, and instead they perform aggregations logic by defining their own explicit measures. This is what we are going to do this in this lab. So for that, we are going to create our own measure. So to create the measure, we will simply, so in the sales table, fact sales table, we are going to create the measure. So here you can select the sales table, and from the top in the ribbon, you can select new measure. So before selecting this new measure, let us select our formula for average price. New measure, and here copy paste our formula. So you can see this is how we are calculating our average price. We are using the average DAX function, and we are saying that for this unit price column within the sales table, identify the average and hit enter. Now, once it is added, now we can let's try to see by adding this average price explicit measure that we have created to our matrix visual. So let me expand this first, and let's add this average price to our matrix visual. And notice that here we are getting the same result as your unit price column, but with different formatting, right? So Now, one more thing, notice that for this explicit measure, if you go back to the visualization pane, and under the visualization pane, if you go to the values section, and here, if you select this drop down menu for the average price that we created, notice that there are no aggregations available. So it's not possible to change the aggregation technique or aggregation behavior of the explicit measures. These are now gone because we have explicitly defined it, right? Now we are going to define some more measure functions like the median price, min price, max price, calculating the distinct count of the sales like orders, and the total rows, which is order lines. So let's create these measures within the sales table one by one. First, we are creating the median price. Now we are creating the min price. Next, create max price. Next, create orders. Next, create order lines. Okay, so here notice that all our explicit measures are created and they are represented by the calculator icon. Now, next, what we will do is, now since we have lots of calculations related to the price, so we do have the option here to group together these similar type of calculations in kind of a folder. So for that, what we will do is, so we will switch to the model view, and inside the model view here, we are going to select our 4 pricing measures, which is where are the measures? Here they are: average price, max price, median price, and min price. And now we will expand the properties pane, and here mention the display folder for these 4 measures as the pricing. Now once done, notice here a pricing folder has been created to neatly organize our measures within these pricing folder. And now we can hide our unit price column here, this one, which is not required. So we can hide this from here. It is now hidden. Now this unit price column will no longer be available to the report authors. So they must use the pricing measures that we have added here within the pricing folder. So this design approach basically ensures that the report authors, they won't inappropriately aggregate prices. For example, let's say by summing the items. Now, similarly, we are going to create one more folder for our counts that we have created. And for that, here we have created 2 measures. We are going to group together these 2 measures, order lines and orders. So let's select these 2 measures also, order lines and orders, and go to the properties pane, and here mention the display folder as counts. And now notice here that our 2 folders have been created. Now what we need to do is, now go back to the report view, and in the report view here, now we are going to remove our unit price field. So here from the okay, let me select this visual, and from this visual open the visualization pane, and from here remove the field which is unit price. like this. So now your visual should look like this at this step. Now next, within this visual, we are going to add all these pricing and count related measures that we have created now. So for that, let's add these 5 measures one by one. So first we are going to add our pricing measures because here we already have an average price. So expand this pricing folder, select the median price, and then we will select the min price and mix price, followed by the orders and order lines. Now verify this is how our result now looks like, right? Similarly, we can create some additional measures. So this is how we usually create our measures. So let's create some more measures. So in the report view, again, we need to switch to the page 1 table visual. And here, notice that the total for our target column is 676210000. So here, let's remove this target field from this visual. Just cross this from the visualization pane. And now we need to rename our target column within the targets table as target amount. So let's go to the targets table. Okay, here we have a target column and we need to rename it to target amount. And hit enter. Now there are several ways to rename the column in the report view. So in data pane, you can right click the column and then rename, or you can even double click the column also, or you can press F2. That's also fine. So now let's create a measure using this targets table. So for that, let me copy the measure formula. And let's create a measure within this table. Say new measure. And now here we will simply paste our measure. Done. So here what we are doing is, so here we are using a DAX formula which is has one value. So this has one value function, which is your DAX function. It will check whether the current filter context for a column contains only one distinct value. And accordingly, it will return true or false. Right? So this is especially useful if you need to create some conditional measures and you want to control the report logic based on your user selection or maybe your data context. Right? So here in this formula, we are checking that if there is exactly one distinct value selected or filtered within the salesperson performance column. Right? If yes, then it will return true. So it will return true if there is only one salesperson within the context. Otherwise, it will return false. So if it returns true, then only one salesperson in the current filter context, right? It will be returned. So it will calculate the sum of the your target amount within the target table. And if false means more than one salesperson are there or there is nothing which gets filtered, then the formula is going to return blank value, nothing, because here we haven't provided any else argument for our if statement. So this is like your if statement. That's why it's kind of your conditional logic. So here we are going to use it. Basically, this is used to show a kind of, you can say, a meaningful total target amount only when a single salesperson is selected. So this will help us preventing any unintended results within the visuals where a single value context is expected. Now hit enter. Now we need to format this target measure for the 0 decimal places. So for that, let's select this, and over here at the very top in the ribbon under the formatting section, instead of auto, mention 0, right? And also we need to hide this target column. So let me go back to the model view, and here let's hide this target amount. Or even you could right click from here also. So from here also we can simply right click on three dots, and from here also we can say hide in the report view. So that's also fine. Now we are going to add, now since we deleted the target column, now instead of that column we are going to add a measure to our table visual. So go back to the report view, page number 1, and here add our target measure that we just created. Let me select the visual like this, right? So we notice that your target column total is blank here, right? So now here we are going to use again some of the formulas within your snippets to create two further more measures, which is the variance and the variance margin. So let's select the variance formula, and let's create the two more measures and hit enter. Similarly, create another formula, which is variance margin. Oh, so that was too much. So this is our last formula, variance margin. So again, click on the table and create new measure. And now we need to again format these as well. So we need to format the variance measure for the 0 decimal places, and similarly format our variance margin measure. Select it, go to the top under the formatting section and format it to 2 decimal places. All right. Now once done, let's add this variance and variance margin to our table measure. Variance and variance margin. Now once it is done, okay, now next at the top right corner of the data pane, we are going to notice here. So here just notice that your target table, it appears at the top of the list. So that's it. So the table that comprises only the visible measures, they are automatically listed at the top of the list. So this is the end of our lab. Thank you.